Peace and blessings, family. This is your brother, Asarimhotep, with the Madhu Mandela Institute for the Advancement of Science and Culture, as well as the Martin Delaney Center for Egyptology. Today is Sunday, August the 22nd, 2021, and we are here at the Mbongi with our good brother who is returning to the program, Dr. Duarte Odará out of Brazil. And we're going to talk about philosophy, ancient Kemet, Ptah-Hotep, and whatever else comes to our mind this evening. So today we're doing a 2 for 2, and we'll talk about that and more when we return in just a moment. And we are back, and today has been a glorious day thus far. If you were with us early this morning in the United States, at least, we had a powerful interview with Dr. Tunde Adigbola out of Nigeria, Ibadan to be specific. He is of the Yoruba people, and we talked about a variety of things regarding his research, into deciphering the Yoruba Bata drum language, to how he is integrating the Yoruba and Hausa and Igbo languages to be fully represented in computer languages. And his goal to make sure that all African languages, all African cultures can utilize the computer without having to learn a colonial language. And so, that was a very powerful show. And we definitely were going to have him back. So if you have not been able to catch the archive for this, hour-long interview, I encourage you to go back on the channel, of course, after this program, and go watch our interview with Dr. Tunde Adigbola out of Nigeria. And as I mentioned on the program, he is responsible for, allowing me to interview our elder. He's my elder, but both of our elder, Dr. Modupe Oduyoye, who's a linguist and theologian, also out of Nigeria. So I'm very thankful to him, for allowing us to kidnap some of his time so that he can enlighten us and share his insight and wisdom with us. And prior to that, we had an interview with Dr. Pa Kofi Akins out of Japan by way of Ghana. And, we had a powerful interview about embracing African spirituality. And I'm definitely cut up some of that interview and share a little bits and bites with the world on our Instagram and my newly created TikTok page, which only got like one video on there. It's like 5 seconds. So we'll build that up in due time. But, a few announcements. So first and foremost, as always, The book Muntu wa Nzambi is out now. For those who are unfamiliar, I have created a publishing company called Madu Ndela Press. And besides my work that has been published on the press, this is the first work of many from other authors and researchers. So this is the text from the latest text from Dr. Chilemalema Mukinge out of the Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo. He is of the Baluba people. And again, his text is titled Muntu wa Nzambi, Portrait of Human as God's Special Creation from African Creation Stories, Religious Beliefs, and Cultural Practices. And so you can pick up this text at madundelapress.com and get your copy. So it is fresh off the press. And I will be sending some of those pre-orders off on Monday and Tuesday. And, you know, I'm very excited to have been a part of this project. So, again, that address is madundelapress.com. And for those of you who are overseas from the United States perspective, I would encourage y'all to order it from Amazon, as the pricing will be cheaper, and I think you'll get it faster. But those in the United States, it would be best to go through the Madu Ndela Press. And what else? In February, I think February the 18th, starting on February the 18th, I am honored and blessed to be part of this conference and tour in Egypt. The Aket tours, you know, the people, Brother Taki from the Hoppy Films is putting this tour and conference together. And we have a number of dynamic speakers who are going to be speaking on that day. And so we have Professor Smalls will be there. Dr. Leonard Jeffries will be there. Brother Anthony Browder will be there. Dr. Solange Ashby, who's an Egyptologist and nubologist, will be there. Dr. Rosalind Jeffries, the wife of Dr. Leonard Jeffries, will be there. Dr. Wade Nobles, the world-renowned psychologist, will be there. And our good brother Mfudisi Jehuti Times, the scribe and teacher of Meta Nature, will be there, of course, besides myself. And so, you know, I would encourage each and every one of you to visit the website, akettours.com, to get more information about this powerful conference and tour that will be in effect on the 18th of February 2022. So if you always wanted to go to Kemet and see all the monuments and just the powerful ancestral land and absorb some of that energy, then this is the tour for you. So also we have, of course, the apparel. This is the Ba and Kole shirt, which is the totem and name for African Americans. And then, of course, the Kimoyo designs. And we'll be having soon the Black is Not a Race, It's a Vibe t-shirts coming soon, as well as the Malcolm mathematics. I'm gonna see which one, how powerful, how knowledgeable you are about mathematics, to see if y'all can get what this equation is saying on the t-shirt. So, for these designs and more, just hit up the Spreadshirt link that's in the description for the t-shirts, and you can help support the channel, as well as by joining the Patreon page, where you will be helping to further this channel along, as well as support the upcoming documentary film. And so while we are in Kemet, we will be shooting for the documentary film. So we'll be doing I will be intensifying fundraising efforts so that we can have everything that we need to film this part of the documentary film China Into, where we will be exploring the commonalities and the relationships between the Nile Valley civilization and that of Central Africa and Southern Africa. And part two of the film will be dealing strictly with West Africa, dealing with Nigeria further west. And so if you want to see this project come to fruition, please consider donating. And if you have pockets and want to invest in the film, holla at me, and we can make some things happen. So without further ado, I want to welcome our good brother, Dr. Duarte Odará, Brother Walter Duarte Odará, all the way live from Brazil. Peace and blessings, good brother. You
Peace
there?
and blessings, good brother. Good to be here, and peace and blessings to everybody which is seeing the live, and everybody who is seeing who will be seeing on the archive. I will translate because we have some Brazilian audience here, so if you don't mind.
All right, no problem at
Ele
all.
me, ele me apresentou e aí né, eu falei muito obrigado por estar aqui, é um prazer estar aqui e mandei um abraço e para as pessoas que vão estar assistindo o arquivo e para as pessoas que estão assistindo agora na live.
Indeed. And we had our good brother here before, along with Dr. Ribeiro or Ribeiro or Ribeira. Is I? Yeah.
Something like that.
And we were getting some insights into what they were doing out in Brazil, and so that was a powerful show into itself. So I encourage those who have not seen that to look for it on the channel itself.
Ele
And
falou,
go ahead.
sorry. Ele falou sobre outra apresentação que já aconteceu no canal comigo e com a professora Catilcia Ribeiro. A gente teve aqui uma apresentação muito boa. Ele está falando que foi muito poderosa e que indica que as pessoas que não assistiram procurem e vão assistir.
Indeed. So let me just welcome a few folks who have made themselves known in the chat. So Sunjata, peace and blessings to you. Donnie Williams in the building. Infinite Minds is in the building. Sister Tamika is in the building. And OG Gorilla. And I see the super chat. So thank you for the super chat. OG Gorilla out of New York. And Brian Beno Smith, peace and blessings to you. Brother Zane Montego is in the building. And Sheila Santos, you tell she's out of Brazil. Brother Aziz Fall is in the building. And Brother Conan Lee, all the way out of the UK. And Rakim 7077. And if I missed anyone, and Sister Emmy Kett, how can I forget Sister Emmy Kett, all the way in Europe? I forgot where she's at. Not Belgium, where she's at. I don't know. It's one of them random East European countries. she'll correct me, and I'll state it when she corrects me in the chat. But yes, thank you all for listening, and of course, all of you who are listening from Facebook, who's made their presence known. So, and thanks to who is this? Erica Rangel, June Money in the building. Yeah, she's from Denmark. I think so. I think that's it. So, yes. So, thank you all for joining the program today. And so, for those who are not familiar with you, can you just give us a little background of who you are, and where you're from, and how did you get into African philosophy?
No problem. Before I will translate what you asking, and then I will respond.
Okay.
Ele perguntou primeiro, né, para me apresentar para as pessoas que não me conhecem. Aí alguns de vocês aí também ainda não me conhecem, os que conhecem, né? Enfim, vou ser bem breve e dizer como eu cheguei aos estudos africanos, aos estudos da africologia. Well, I'm Walter Duarte Odará. I'm from Brazil, specifically from Sergipe, the northeast of Brazil. My background is in boxing arena, but for some reason I was a voracious reader. So at some time of my journey, I perceived that the excellent being excellent in sports wasn't enough for me. So I tried to understand why, and I passed through history and then philosophy. That got me. So I decided to study and looking for what to be, what a person who studies philosophy does. And then I followed that path since then. I made my grade, my master's, and I just got my PhD now in philosophy. At first, I was studying the ancient Hellenistic history and philosophy, specifically the diasporian ones, which is the Stoicism created by a African in diaspora at Zenon, and specifically I was studying logic. And then I got in the place where I needed to go further in the time and passed through Renato Nogueira, Dr. Renato Nogueira, and his work. And then it got me another time, and I initiated a study which I was doing when I was a kid, passing through some books of Egyptology. And then I was capable to do the study in a systematic way. And here I am right now. Eu disse a ele que eu contei a ele minha jornada, falei que sou do Brasil, de Sergipe especificamente, embora, né, tenha nascido em Salvador, vocês sabem disso, mas eu comecei como lutador de boxe, e aí, em algum momento da minha vida, eu percebi que isso para mim não seria suficiente. Encontrei alguns desafios, e aí procurei saber qual era a razão desses desafios. E aí eu fui passeando por vários campos do conhecimento, entre eles história, e aí foi quando eu me deparei com filosofia, e aí, a partir daí, eu me apaixonei, comecei a estudar filosofia, e me perguntei que tipo de jornada uma pessoa que estuda filosofia trava, e aí eu segui essa jornada, e aí fiz a minha graduação, o meu mestrado, e agora o meu doutorado, né? Inicialmente, eu estava estudando a filosofia clássica helenística, e aí, especificamente, os estoicos, que são diaspóricos, né, africanos em diásporas, que criaram, foi um africano em diáspora que criou o estoicismo, e aí eu comecei a estudar lógica. Ele era uma pessoa que era interessada em lógica, e aí daí, quando eu terminei a minha graduação e meu mestrado, eu precisei ir mais fundo, mais longe no tempo. Foi quando eu encontrei Renato Nogueira e o trabalho dele, o excelente trabalho dele, e aí parti do trabalho dele, da bibliografia, para dar continuidade a um estudo que eu fazia de maneira autônoma, né, autodidática, com o Kemet. Desde criança eu passava por livros de egiptologia, e aí lia sobre o Kemet, e foi quando eu tive a oportunidade, a partir do trabalho de Renato Nogueira, de sistematizar esse estudo, e isso me rendeu o meu doutorado.
I forgot to unmute my mic. I want to, before we move forward, I also want to share on the screen a powerful class or discussion that I was a part of. And I'm going to put the link in the chat for everyone to visit. And from the Geroma Lab of Africology and Amerindian Studies. And if you can translate this
Ele
part.
Está falando que de uma apresentação que ele fez, e ele vai botar o link aí, vai deixar o link no chat para quem quiser visitar. E aí é o futuro é ancestral. The future is ancestral. As research about on the relations between Kemet and Congo and its impact on diaspora.
Indeed.
E aí eu estou dizendo aqui que o futuro é ancestral em busca das relações entre Kemet e Congo e seus impactos na diáspora. Foi a apresentação que ele fez, né, agora no último trabalho que Catiúcia Ribeiro fez no canal lá do Guerumá, e aí ele está recomendando essa apresentação, que realmente foi uma apresentação poderosa. Entre elas, ele apresentou, por exemplo, a linha etimológica entre o que a gente conhece como capoeira, e aí isso a gente encontra nossos traços, raízes culturais lá no Antigo Egito, em Kemet. I was adding that the part where you say that the capoeira has its etymological link with Kepet, with a concept, a theme of the rematch.
Indeed. Yes, I just wanted to share that with the audience, and I was blessed to be one of the presenters. It's primarily in Portuguese, but they also had English interpreters to translate what was in Portuguese to English, and of course, when I was presenting, what was in English into Portuguese.
E ele estava falando aqui que também foi uma apresentação bilíngue, foi apresentada, em geral, a apresentação toda foi em português e traduzida para o inglês, para ele, para a audiência, né, que estava lá assistindo, que estava assistindo, e da parte dele, obviamente, partiu do inglês e foi traduzida para o português pela equipe.
So I put the link in the chat so that you can view that, bookmark it, and view it at your own time and leisure.
Ele está deixando o link no chat para depois vocês, quem tiver à vontade para assistir mais tarde, salva para assistir depois.
Alrighty, and now back to our interview. And so what was the inspiration behind the topic of your dissertation on Ptah-Hotep?
Ele perguntou qual é a minha inspiração, né, sobre o tópico, né, em Ptah-Hotep. First time was because around here we got a great African diasporican movement which produced groups like Olodum. I don't know if you are familiar. They have it's a music group, a cultural but music group which spread the African culture by music. They created the style of music called axé. Eu estava dizendo a ele que começou primeiro pelo movimento cultural que acontecia aqui no Brasil e pelo Olodum. Né? When I was a child, I heard a lot of music of them. They talked a lot about Kemet, and then that songs, that lyrics got my heart, got my mind, and I never forgot about it. And ever since, I was researching who are these people that the Olodum talked so much. So I found some books, Egyptologic books, but the approach was not sufficient for me. I felt that something was missing in some kind of way. But when I found more later on, when I found the works of Diop, when I find the works of Molefe Tiachant and so forth, by the work of Renato Nogueira, I then was the moment which I really found my special theme. So when I was reading some history about the civil movements around there in the United States, I found a book of Richard Moore, which was a great orator down there, and he spoke a lot about Ptah-Hotep and said that Ptah-Hotep was one of his inspirations, which his mother talked some sayings that he could trace it back to Ptah-Hotep. So I was behind, I followed that path and found the Sebaite. Then my first, when I made the link, my first impulse was to trying to do the same thing as him, starting to talking about it. But at the research followed, I saw that first I was needing to present who is Ptah-Hotep, who are these people from which he is, where did he made his work, for whom, for what, I mean, all the kind of stuff. Eu falei a ele, né, que a partir daí o Olodum me trouxe essa inspiração, as palavras, as letras de Olodum ficaram na minha cabeça, e aí, desde então, eu comecei a buscar material, encontrei vários livros de egiptologia em bancas de revista, livrarias, e lia vorazmente, e sentia que faltava alguma coisa ainda assim. Quando finalmente, já agora, no período de doutorado, eu encontrei com o trabalho de Renato Nogueira, a partir desse trabalho, eu fui conduzido aos trabalhos de Joseph Ben Yochanan, o trabalho de Molefe Achante, os trabalhos de Sheikh Anta Diop, e aí isso eu pude alcançar aquilo que eu estava procurando e sistematizar a carga de conhecimento que eu já tinha desde a infância. E aí foi quando eu realmente... o meu primeiro impulso, porque eu também tinha chegado a Ptah-Hotep a partir de Richard Moore, um grande orador do período do movimento, um dos grandes oradores da era inicial dos movimentos dos direitos civis nos Estados Unidos. E nos seus discursos ele fala muito de Ptah-Hotep. E aí isso me deu uma curiosidade imensa. Foi quando eu encontrei o Sebaite, e aí a minha primeira vontade foi começar a falar sobre o Sebaite, começar a trazer os esquemas que Ptah-Hotep apresentava para a gente resolver os nossos problemas hoje. Só que aí, durante o estudo, eu percebi que tinha uma etapa anterior. Eu precisava primeiro saber quem era Ptah-Hotep, de que povo ele fazia parte, em que momento ele escreveu aquele trabalho, para quem ele escreveu aquele trabalho, por quê. E aí, esse é o primeiro momento do meu trabalho.
Alrighty. And what were some of the... I don't know if y'all can hear in the background, because I live basically on an Air Force base, so it's some horns playing, like they do this every day, and so I guess it's just that time. But I don't even think y'all can hear it. But
no, it's okay.
Okay.
Tá falando que pode ter algum ruído porque ele mora perto de um aeroporto, aí pode ter alguns trompetes soando atrás, mas, enfim, ele está já justificando aí. Eu estou dizendo a ele que, pelo menos por aqui, eu não estou ouvindo, né? Não sei vocês aí.
All right. My question is, what, during your research, did you learn that you didn't expect to learn as a result of this research? And what are some insights that you were able to bring out that others have overlooked?
Ele está falando, né, o que eu descobri na minha pesquisa, que eu não esperava descobrir, e que tipo de insights, né, isso me trouxe. She said that she wasn't hearing the sound, the trumpets, the back trumpet sound.
Right.
Well, the first thing I wasn't expecting is that those peoples aren't aliens. and and that they weren't spooky, because the materials which I got, which I approached, treated they as a spooky people. So when I got to Sebait and I saw all this philosophical material and all the scientific material, that surprised me a lot. Because I read a lot, I read so much, which I started to believe that those people got some power, some kind of metaphysical powers to build those pyramids. But when I read Ptah-Hotep, the rigor with which he writes, the systematic way which he organized the concepts, the themes, and the care, full of care use of metaphors, of figurative expressions, that got me. And I perceived from there, which that is the way we diasporians around here in Brazil use the language. We use language in a figurative way, spread time. And I saw a possibility to bring high knowledge, to bring the deep knowledge to everybody which don't like at all to be studying in a systematic way. Eu disse a ele que a coisa que me surpreendeu é que eu imaginava que eram povos que tinham poderes metafísicos, porque boa parte dos trabalhos que eu me debatia tratava esses povos como místicos e tal, mas diante das grandes pirâmides, diante das grandes evidências que nós temos de que esses povos construíram, eu passei a acreditar que eles deveriam realmente ter algum tipo de poder, que eles eram aliens, né, alienígenas. E quando eu me deparei com esses textos, eu percebi que não era o caso. Eu encontrei textos bastante sistemáticos, numa profundidade científica muito grande, um cuidado no uso das palavras, um cuidado no uso das expressões figurativas, que me fez perceber que eram povos, né, assim como nós, e o mais surpreendente é a forma como eles utilizavam a linguagem, é muito parecida com a forma como nós, né, africanos em diáspora, aqui no Brasil, utilizamos a linguagem, a partir das expressões figurativas, a partir dos dizeres. E aí eu vi nisso uma forma de trazer autoconhecimento, conhecimento profundo para pessoas que não estão tão acostumadas ou dispostas a lidar com um estudo sistemático, um estudo acadêmico.
Indeed. I want to share my screen. So I was blessed with a copy, of your dissertation, and I just want you to I'm just going to go through the table of contents and share the table of contents, and you tell us what is going on.
Ok. Ele vai, eu mandei o manuscrito para ele, e aí ele está falando que vai apresentar um pouco do manuscrito, e aí a gente vai conversando ao longo do tempo que ele vai falando sobre. Bem, aí vocês podem, quem está no Brasil, eu não preciso traduzir, né? So, that is the scheme. Yeah, the title, the University of Estado from Rio de Janeiro, Social Science Center, Human Science and Philosophy Institute. I presented the university there. The title is Ptah-Hotep, the Philosophical Map of the of the Classical African Culture. Eu estou falando aqui o título do meu trabalho. Ptah-Hotep, vocês estão vendo aí, né? Quem está vendo, quem está aqui no Instagram, Ptah-Hotep, o mapa filosófico da cultura clássica africana. I'm streaming in Instagram too, so I'm talking to people.
No problem.
Ele está mostrando aqui a introdução, o primeiro capítulo e os subcapítulos. The introduction, the summary, which has an introduction, first chapter, which I called the is fat, for reason you know why, and I doing the demarcation. In the 1.1, I'm doing the demarcation. I'm follow the Afrocentric methods. I'm starting with demarcation. I'm starting with the localization. In there, let me go slowly.
Mm-hmm. And let me do this, because I don't want you to necessarily read each underline. Okay. So if you can, just kind of summarize what is going on in each major chapter.
Okay.
And in terms of how you're approaching the things, and that way you don't have to read everything.
Ok. Ele está perguntando, né, para eu fazer de forma resumida aqui. Well, I divided the work in two parts. The first part, I'm showing I researched about the reasons why I asked the questions, why this work is not available to us, even being so even the Remet or the ancient Egyptians being so prolific in writings, why does their work wasn't available to us? So the first chapter deals with that, and I called Isfet, meaning I was relating the notion of Isfet as a principle of destruction, a principle to prevent existence, prevent order. So I'm considering an attempt to prevent the existence of the epistemological work, the cultural work of African people. So I named that first chapter as Isfet. Eu estou explicando aqui, né, que o primeiro capítulo eu fiz as perguntas de por que os textos dos povos queméticos não estão disponíveis para a gente, mesmo eles tendo escrito tanta coisa. E aí eu nomeei esse capítulo de Isfet, que é um princípio que os povos egípcios antigos chamam, se refere ao princípio de destruição, de desordem, de impedimento da realidade. E aí eu estou comparando esse princípio com o que aconteceu, né, que é realmente impedindo a existência desses trabalhos científicos, desses trabalhos filosóficos dos povos africanos e da cultura africana. E aí eu nomeei essa primeira parte. And I talk about the history of Egyptology. I talk about the hegemonical philosophy and all that stuff you know about. Eu só falei sobre isso, né, que eu falo sobre a história da egiptologia, enfim. In the second chapter, I call it Ma'at.
Hold on one second. I want the audience to really kind of understand the need to, in Afrocentric work, to separate the research that we are doing in the moment from the hegemonic and Eurocentric perspectives that dominate the current literature.
Great. Ele está dizendo que ele acha importante que as pessoas saibam a diferença do trabalho de pesquisa que nós estamos fazendo hoje para o trabalho hegemônico que a egiptologia europeia, a egiptologia ocidental vem fazendo até esse momento, né? Existem diferenças que é preciso que essas diferenças sejam expressas para vocês.
Yeah. Because with were you done?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Because if you do not present, what makes your research different, then you will not be able to convince the reader, that you are providing some unique insight that isn't already being talked about amongst the other scholars.
E ele disse que a importância disso é para mostrar a diferença e o que eu estou trazendo, que tipo de insights eu estou trazendo na minha pesquisa, na nossa pesquisa, nós estamos falando aqui de nós, nossa pesquisa, o que trazemos de diferente desses trabalhos que já vem acontecendo aqui, para convencer o leitor, convencer a leitora, convencer a audiência de que o que está sendo trazido agora é diferente do que foi apresentado até então por esses outros trabalhos aí de egiptólogos e egiptólogas do Ocidente.
All right. So now you can go to chapter 2.
E agora eu vou para o capítulo 2. In the second chapter, I call it Ma'at. I mean, for the classical African culture, Ma'at is the principle of order, is the principle, the core of existence, the base of existence, is their principle which deals with truth, which deals with righteousness, which deals with science. So that is the chapter where I talk about first the legitimacy of the philosophy in Africa. I talk about Afrocentricity as a method of research, and I mean, in a more accurate way, I show every point of this method. So I talk about the agents concept. I talk about the basic characteristic of Afrocentricity, and I talk about the levels of consciousness which deals with somebody which is researching or the phenomena which happens to African people, described by the Afrocentricity, and I talk about the objective of Afrocentricity, meaning it's the base of the work, is the order put in my research. Is Ma'at, Afrocentricity is being compared with Ma'at in that research. Eu falei a ele que o segundo capítulo eu chamo de Ma'at, e aí Ma'at já é o princípio de ordem, já é o princípio de ordenamento, de verdade, de sistema, de sistematização do conhecimento. E aí nesse capítulo eu falo sobre a legitimidade da filosofia africana, eu falo sobre a afrocentricidade enquanto conceito, enquanto método de pesquisa, e aí eu esmiuço essa explicação, conceito de agência, que é muito importante para a pesquisa, falo sobre as características básicas da afrocentricidade internacional, falo sobre os níveis de consciência, que são fenômenos que acontecem com o africano em diáspora, e eles são descritos pela afrocentricidade, por Molefe Ketchachan. Shout out to Gabriel Swahili, the Chenut from Afrocentricity International here in Brazil. Estou mandando um abraço para Gabriel Swahili, integrante, né, Chenut, cabeça da Afrocentricidade Internacional no Brasil. I talk too about eu falo também sobre os níveis de consciência e o objetivo da afrocentricidade. Isso compõe o segundo capítulo, que eu chamo de Ma'at, comparando aí a afrocentricidade como o princípio que fundamenta a minha pesquisa.
And why was Afrocentricity as a framework important for your research? Why did you go the Afrocentric route when discussing Ptah-Hotep versus, the Middle Eastern, Asiatic, and or European perspective when trying to penetrate and understand Ptah-Hotep?
Ele está perguntando por que eu escolhi a afrocentricidade para abordar Ptah-Hotep e não as abordagens eurocêntricas que já acontecem falando com Ptah-Hotep. First place, because in that perspective, the African people was not human. They were something between the apes and the human beings. They rarely are referred to as people which construct science of any kind. They was presented as people with sublogic mentality. So that was really, I saw that wasn't true, and then I was looking for something which could help me to deal with it, to transpass that challenge. And Afrocentricity is the place. It's from Afrocentricity, which I was capable to see, to perceive, and approach the African phenomena by its own culture. Eu falei a ele que, né, os textos que eu procurava, né, esses textos apresentam esses povos como povos que não são humanos, né, como sub-humanos. São povos que estão aí entre os primatas e entre os seres humanos. São apresentados. Você vai ver os livros falando como pessoas que não entendiam de lógica, a mente não era capaz de lidar com lógica, que eram incapazes de criar ciência, e são apresentados apenas de uma forma, enfim, não científica, absolutamente, né? Eu estou sendo assim bem generoso nas palavras, mas e aí eu percebi que a afrocentricidade permitia que eu abordasse o fenômeno africano, a descrição dos fenômenos africanos, a partir da própria cultura. E aí essa foi a minha chave.
And now we go into the third chapter, and again, you don't have to read each of them. See, this is broken down into various different subjects, but in summary, you know, what are we getting here in terms of this chapter?
The first, ele está me perguntando agora sobre o terceiro capítulo, e aí pedindo para eu fazer uma espécie de sumário. The third chapter I called Ra, and I was happy to use the hieroglyph itself. It was a challenge. It's been the dissertation is not published yet. A lot of but we'll do it soon. And I call it Ra because Ra is the concept itself of creation. From Ma'at, from the order, from righteousness, from the system, Ra is capable of emerge and create and bring something new to existence, present to our perceptions the reality in a clear way. So in that chapter, I talk about first the precautions we have to do when we are approaching an ancient language and an ancient culture, and principally because we are here in Brazil utilizing a Western language. So I talk about the precautions we had to do when deal with it in Portuguese. And so I made a note. Then I talk about who are my references. So the principal, the ultimate references. And then I show Africa itself, from itself. I use the works of your works. I use the works of Sheikh Anta Diop, the Molefiket Ashanti, Yoronke Oyewumi, Fukiao, and so forth, to present Africa as the cultural aspect of Africa, because the Eurocentric perspective of Africa show them as separate entities that it hasn't any relations with one another. So I use the work of the cultural unity of Africa from Sheikh Anta Diop to show point to point that similarity, that cultural trace, which can permit to us, which allow us to talk of as a concept as broad as Africa, and don't be wrong in it. Eu falei que o terceiro capítulo, inicialmente, eu chamei de Ra, e aí Ra é o conceito da emergência, da criação, da diferenciação, da ordem. A partir de Ma'at, Ra é aquele que traz a percepção, né, aos nossos sentidos, a realidade. E aí é quando eu trago a realidade, os autores que apresentam a África a partir de si mesma. Né? Eu falo também de algumas precauções, porque eu estou escrevendo em português, e aí existem alguns perigos, alguns problemas em traduzir em uma língua ocidental, que traz uma cultura ocidental, textos africanos. E aí, por conta disso, eu falo sobre esses cuidados e, enfim, começo a apresentar o traço cultural daquilo que eu chamo de África, porque, pela perspectiva ocidental, existem várias Áfricas, elas não têm nenhuma relação entre si, os povos não se comunicavam, e Sheikh Anta Diop, principalmente, também asarimhotep e outros estudiosos e outras estudiosas mostraram que existe um traço cultural, apesar de todas as diferenças, que permite com que nós chamemos, usemos o termo África, sem estarmos completamente errados e sem termos o problema que essa abordagem eurocêntrica afirma. And then I started from the characteristic. I talked about the historicity. I talked about the matrilinear organization of society, and things like the gender is not a question, is not an issue like it's here on the Western streets. Although we got the differences of roles, male and female roles, that it's not necessary that the person executing that roles has to be male or female, but we got some principles. I talk about a little about that. I talk about the matrilineal lineage thing, which is not a contrary to patriarchy. It's not a matriarchy in the sense that it's a contrary. The women against men is not like that. And I use your works. I use works of Ifa Amadiumi. I use works of Oyeroke Oyeyumi and so forth. I talk about the way which the African deals with his dead. So the burying ceremony, the worship ceremony, which is different from the Western ceremonies. They don't burn their deads, so something like that. I talked about the holistic perspective of reality in a sense that the creation is not something ex machina, and not something which creates the world, the reality ex nihilo. I talk about that. The human being itself, it's part of creation, is himself or herself God too, because it's part of God. The nature itself is a manifestation of God, is the embodiment of that principle we call God, the principle of reality. And I talk about the notion of person, of the notion of self, which is different from the Western notion, not deals with the dichotomic aspect of body and spirit. The spirit, what we call the spirit itself, is something very complex in a way that the person, you can call a person as a molecular structure with complexity, with many unities which interact with themselves in a complex way and interact with the world, which are two complexity compounds of molecules and so forth. Eu estava falando a ele que, né, falei das diferenças, quais são esses traços que fazem com que a gente consiga falar de África sem problema, que é, por exemplo, o culto dos mortos. Os povos africanos, em geral, não queimavam seus mortos, enterravam seus mortos. Falei sobre a questão de gênero, que não é a mesma questão de gênero que nós temos aqui, embora haviam papéis masculinos e femininos, esses papéis não eram ocupados simplesmente por homens ou por mulheres, necessariamente, não era assim que se fazia essa separação de papéis, não era uma distribuição social por gênero, mas cada papel tinha um gênero, né, um papel de gênero, mas não que a pessoa que ocupasse esse papel deveria ser de um gênero ou de outro. Falei sobre a questão da realidade como algo líquido, não é separado, as coisas não são separadas. Deus, o princípio que chamamos de Deus, não é uma entidade externa, ex nihilo, que cria o mundo a partir do nada, né, uma entidade ex machina, externa, que cria o mundo ex nihilo a partir do nada. Não é esse o caso. Né? O ser humano é entendido como Deus na medida que é parte dessa criação. A criação como um todo, portanto, digamos assim, a incorporação desse princípio que chamamos de Deus. A realidade é Deus. E aí, nesse sentido, existe essa diferenciação.
Indeed.
That fourth chapter I call the Perank, when I was presenting in a summary way what are the parangs. It's a structure similar with the what we call today university, but in none way equal. But I talk about the prank, what happened there, cite us a few texts, what we can found there, and specifically I talk about the Ptah-Hotep, which is the method, scientific method, the way from which the rematch used to know how to learn, how the knowledge was built. So I present the Ptah-Hotep as a scientific method, and I talk about the philosophical tradition, the Memphis school and so forth, the Hermes school and so forth. I talk about the philosophical, and then I did a taxonomical work in a summary way. I mean, it's a drawing. It's a work to present to people that, so it's not as profound as we need to do, but it's the first step. And then I show the concepts and things like Heket, Nun, Ma'at, and then, but not least, I talk about the Sebaite itself. Eu estou falando a ele aqui que no quarto capítulo eu chamei de Perank, e eu apresento o que a gente poderia chamar hoje de universidades, falo das diferenças também, e aí trato da tradição filosófica, quais eram aquilo que a gente poderia chamar de escolas filosóficas, o que eles tratavam, e aí daí eu falo sobre o método científico, que é o TEP-Recebe, então eu falo que eles utilizavam o método científico, eu apresento evidências de que eles utilizavam um método científico, sim, e aí esse é o capítulo, e depois eu faço um trabalho taxonômico mesmo, apresentando quais são os conceitos que eles usavam, conceitos como requete, conceitos como maat, e assim por diante.
Indeed. I want to say, before you move forward, that, and I don't even know if I shared this with you during your process, but in Congo, they one of their initiatic schools is equivalent conceptually to Per Ankh. It's really just a house of life, as told to us by Foucault.
I think I saw this at the Nesubiti, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I think you talk about it a little bit in the Nesubiti. That is in the thesis too. I cited you there in that point. Ele está falando que no Congo, né, as escolas iniciáticas do Congo têm uma estrutura muito parecida com as peranques, com as casas da vida. Né? A tradução literal seria casas da vida. E eu estou dizendo a ele que sim, que eu encontrei num dos livros dele, e que eu cito também no trabalho. É uma tese, foi a minha tese de doutorado. It's a thesis. She was asking if it's a doctorate dissertation or a master's dissertation, and then I'm saying to her that it's a thesis, a doctorate.
Yes. And so like I'm very interested in African pedagogy and the way that Africans teach, and the institutes that they create in order to teach. So this is a very important chapter in terms of my research.
Ele está dizendo que esse capítulo aí é muito importante em termos da pesquisa dele, porque ele é muito interessado na pedagogia africana, na forma como os povos africanos ensinam. E aí, para ele, na metodologia, no modo, enfim, na estrutura, ele tem muito interesse nesse capítulo. The last one is about the Sebaite itself. I make some preliminary questions about what is a Sebaite, I mean, for who write the Sebaite, what is the structure. And one of the things that I didn't say is that it's a curious fact that the texts like the Sebaite and the hymns was written in a poetical way. We can see in the rhymes, the structured rhymes in the text, not just in the form, in the shape, but we can see too in the conceptual relationship between the words, which is I perceived, I noted that for them the scientific and the philosophical type of writings was made in a figurative way. So I cited this in the earlier chapter that what the Egyptological traditions call spooky, I'm saying that is a structure of writing, and this it's a method of writing. It's a style of deal with science, which is different for several reasons. I mean, we are talking about people which invented the writing, people which deals with the oral traditions. They didn't have HDs, they didn't have HDs, they hard drives, they didn't have the hard drives, they didn't have CDs to preserve the knowledge. So they had to find a way to transmit the knowledge, the amount of knowledge, to further generations. So a way they found to do this was from the figurative, through the figurative expression. So I talked a lot about it and wrapped the veil of mythology and mysticism. Estou falando que das várias características, uma das principais que a gente vai encontrar em textos como o Sebaite, como os hinos, como no livro que a gente conhece como o Livro dos Mortos, é que é escrito de uma forma poética e é escrito também de uma forma muito figurativa, muitas metáforas, muitas símiles. E aí, embora a cultura egiptológica fale sobre isso, como se que eles eram místicos e tal, realmente acreditavam de uma forma literal, né, a gente precisa levar em consideração que esses povos são os criadores da escrita e são povos culturalmente que privilegiam a tradição e a linguagem oral. Nesse período, não existia HD, não existia CD, não existiam os disquetes, não existiam videocassetes, videotapes, né, não existiam isso. Então, eles tinham que arrumar uma forma de preservar o conhecimento e de passar esse conhecimento, essa grande quantidade de conhecimento para gerações futuras. E não só isso, como guardar esse conhecimento, né? Como memorizar esse conhecimento. Então, uma estratégia mnemônica que eles encontraram foi utilizar a poesia e as expressões figurativas, metáforas e coisas desse tipo. E aí isso desmistifica aquela ideia de que são textos que lidam, que a gente encara de forma literal, que ele realmente está falando de deuses, enfim, coisas desse tipo.
All right. And then of course is the conclusion and then the references.
Yeah.
But I'm noticing that, you know, Ma'at seems to be a central theme throughout this text. And, you know, what new insights or what appreciations do you have for this concept of Ma'at? And why was this so important of a concept to articulate, although the text is about Ptah-Hotep?
Yeah, ele está perguntando que ele percebeu que Ma'at é um tema central aqui no trabalho do meu trabalho, especificamente para Ptah-Hotep. E aí ele está me perguntando o que eu trago que pode contribuir como um insight, né, para isso aqui. Well, if you can share that thing quickly, which I showed you.
And I meant to say, hold on. The document that you sent me, it's not the same as the one that you sent to me on the phone. So the one you sent me on the phone had just 3 images, but this is I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, I sent the wrong one. It's not this.
All right.
But may I share it, my screen?
Yeah, you can. So hold on, let me get this off real quick. go.
Let me try. Can you see it? I'm blocked yet.
Let me see. I don't see your. You hit the share button at the bottom.
Yeah, I did share, but it says which I'm blocked yet.
Well, that would be. Well, you can't be blocked.
I don't know why.
So when you share,
okay, I think I can now. Let me see. Let me see. Okay, got it. Boom. So first, we are dealing with a new paradigm today, the Eurocentric paradigm of universality and the metaphysical Cartesian from Descartes, the metaphysics from Aristotle is a problem today. So the concept of deal with the world is something which we are looking for today. The concept of order, the concept of holiness of the world. I mean, the holism of reality. That is a concept which we can find in the ancient culture, and ultimately in the Kemetic people. So Ptah-Hotep is a text which shows how the concept is articulated in different ways, even in a scientific way, but specifically in a philosophical way. So from Ptah-Hotep, we can see how the concept of the theme of Ma'at deals with the principles of the mind, principles of relationship, conversations, the principles of discussions, the principles of ethic behavior, and things like that. So Ma'at is that work is showing how a person like Ptah-Hotep, a eminent person, deals with that concept far from the spooky way which we already know. So it's a really philosophical way which the ancient people, the ancient Egyptian people dealt with the theme of Ma'at. Eu estou falando a ele que a importância desse trabalho é mostrar como os antigos articulavam, os antigos queméticos, né, os antigos egípcios, articulavam o conceito de Ma'at de uma forma diferente dessa mística que a gente já conhece, né? De uma forma filosófica, ou seja, quais são os princípios aí, Ma'at é entendida como princípios, os princípios que regulam a mente, quais são os princípios que regulam as relações sociais, quais são os princípios que regulam, por exemplo, a comunicação, a retórica e coisas desse tipo. I talked the Ma'at being a description, a representation of principles. So in the text, we can see how the ancient people, the classical African people, articulated the principles like the mind, how the mind works, principles like rhetoric, or logic, and epistemology, or ontology, and things like that. It is a way more systematic to show how they articulated Ma'at. And the first slide is a scheme, a map from which we can see one of the roles of the Sebaite. So I draw that image where in the end we got Sebaite, and the other end we got a cat. So which the Sebaite we can translate as ensinamentos, teachings. Eu estou falando aqui que tem uma imagem, né? E aí eu criei essa estrutura. De um lado nós temos as Sebaite, os ensinos. de outro nós temos Aket. Aket, meaning ancestral or mean effective, is a end from from which you can go through the Sebaite, through the things which the Sebaite shows to us. And from Sebaite to Aket, from the continent of the content in the Sebaite to for a person to be Aket, to be effective, they have at least two highways. From now, I don't know if that highway is traced at the same time, in a sequence. If it's a sequence, which sequence the highway are trod, if at the same time, if it is at the same time, how it is, but as it's certainty, there is two highways. The highway of Maat, following the following principles, following certain rules. Which kind of rules? So we got to, the person had to know what rules, which rules are there, and I mean, is a path of investigation, and another is the something you call a intern call. The person had to follow not just the rules, not just the systematic way of trod that just destiny, but they had to learn about in her or his internal call. So, in a philosophical sense, we are talking about an investigation, not just of the reality outside of ourselves. I mean, the external world, the world or the things which stimulate our senses, but is an investigation on how we ourselves internally are. So, what is the car? I mean, there's a lot of principles, internal principles, which can be, which needs to be learned, which needs to be known for a person to get to the next stage, which is imak or imahu, a person to be honored. I mean, that's I talk about it in the text, and then from the imahu, the or imach, the person is got a conditions to turn himself or herself in someone effective, which can create the world, create the reality as a God. Eu estou falando aqui que a minha estrutura, né? Eu vejo que tem assim, de um lado você tem o Sebaite, que permite com que apresenta ensinamentos e conteúdos a partir dos quais as pessoas podem se tornar alguém aquete ou efetivo, que era o que eles chamavam. E aí, mas para chegar lá tinham pelo menos dois caminhos. No momento eu não sei ainda se esses caminhos são traçados ao mesmo tempo, se em sequência, mas a certeza é que existem dois caminhos, pelo menos, e que eles têm que ser traçados, não um só e não um outro só. É o caminho de Ma'at, ou seja, é preciso conhecer e traçar e seguir certas leis, é preciso conhecer e traçar um caminho sistemático de regras e ordenação. Por outro lado, é preciso também conhecer e seguir o que a asarimhotep chama de call, né, de chamado interno, que é o K. Uma espécie de, sabe aquela coisa que a gente ouve muitos os artistas e pessoas falando que você precisa ouvir o que te motiva, quais são as suas motivações internas, né? Her or him internal motivations. Essas motivações, seguindo esses dois caminhos, a pessoa pode chegar ao final, a um próximo estágio, que é o estado de Imar, que eles chamavam de Imar, ou Imahu, que aí é uma pessoa honrosa, e aí, a partir daí, ela adquire a condição de alguém que pode modificar a realidade.
Indeed. I'm very, before you move forward, you know, I've been advertising, I'm working on a text that I'll be publishing in October, called Chiluba Maweja, Yoruba Orisha, and Ancient Egyptian Ak, an exploratory etymological study. And so, you know, this is the image that you see here, for those who don't read the hieroglyphs, when he's talking about, you know, the Ak, and this one specifically is Aket. This is basically the cognate for the word Orisha in Yoruba tradition, and so that is turning up some fruitful information. But just wanted to say that. But continue.
Ele está falando aqui que essa informação que eu estou trazendo é bem frutífera, e aí, coincidência ou não, o trabalho que ele está fazendo a publicidade agora, o livro mais recente dele que ele está publicando, sobre o conceito de Ak, e aí aqui a minha é uma variação desse conceito, Aket, e ele descobriu que, traçando etimologicamente, Ak é um paralelo, digamos assim, é um cognato de Orixá, que a gente chama aqui de Orixá. Então, para ele é importante essa relação que eu estou fazendo aqui, e aí ele está trazendo essa informação para nós que o que os esqueméticos chamavam de Ak, hoje, por exemplo, os Yorubá é o que eles chamam, é o mesmo conceito que eles chamam de Orixá. So, before further ado, I need to say that while I was studying, I perceived that the Kemetic people, the Hemech, how they call themselves, used to call it sometime, they inform the past in a way that we are not merely being in front of a description of the things which happened, or about the relation of cause and effect, the rules, the existence, but they were that information is transmitted in a way, in an interventive way. I mean, from which we can produce results, and not just any results, the wished results, the results which we want to see in the world. I mean, they teach us to cause effects, not just to know how the world works and that's okay, just accept, but how to produce the desirable effects.
The desired outcome.
That is not, it does not depend of the situation, does not depend of the context. If you know math, if you know the principles, if you know Ptah-Hotep, if you know yourself, you are capable to produce reality in all senses possible or imaginable. So, dealing with the past, not as a past record, a hardware, if you will, but as a map to the future, a software, if you may. I mean, there was when I decided to call it the philosophical map instead of just philosophical taxonomy of the classical African culture. I decided to call it a philosophical map to bring to attention that I was not just going to past stuff to talk about it and for us to be how it was beautiful and that's okay and to feel good about it, but to make everybody perceive that with that knowledge, with that technology which they gave us, we can today recreate our reality. So that's why I decided to call the philosophical map, from which we can produce, any person can produce their own experiences, not in a crazy way, but in an effective way as a people, and produce the reality, inside of ourselves and outside of ourselves. Eu estava dizendo que eu escolhi chamar de mapa filosófico porque durante os estudos eu percebi que eles informam o passado de uma forma que, assim, eles não estão meramente descrevendo os acontecimentos e as experiências, né? Que, por exemplo, nos limitaria a só, tá bem, seríamos espectadores do fato e não teríamos nada a fazer, aceitaríamos e tal. Mas realmente como um mapa para o futuro, né? E aí eu fiz uma comparação, né? Essa visão de um espectador a só mostrar o que acontecia, seria um hardware, onde a gente não tem o que fazer, o hardware é pré-programado, você simplesmente sabe como ele funciona e não tem o que ser feito, mas eles apresentam isso de uma forma tal que a gente pode considerar como um mapa para o futuro. Conhecer isso é um mapa para um futuro no sentido de, e aí eu chamei de software, né, que é a partir do qual é possível que nós produzamos, digamos assim, a gente pode produzir a nossa experiência, as nossas experiências, produzir as nossas realidades, tanto a realidade interna quanto a realidade externa, não no sentido esquizofrênico do termo, mas realmente de forma efetiva alterar a nossa realidade. Ou seja, o trabalho que nós estamos fazendo não é meramente um trabalho de retorno para vermos como aqueles povos eram maravilhosos e a gente se sentir bem com isso, mas para a gente entender que o que eles dispuseram para a gente como trabalho é algo que a gente pode usar hoje para transformar a realidade de uma forma efetiva.
It's ironic that you've come to this conclusion regarding the system that you've created here in terms of articulating the ancient Egyptian underlying framework for creating reality. I'll stop there so you can translate.
Ele está dizendo aqui que é interessante a forma como eu cheguei a essa conclusão, né, dessa maneira subjacente que o ser humano tem para criar a realidade, ou seja, quais são os princípios que os seres humanos utilizam, né, se utilizam e criaram, né, ou seguem para criar a realidade.
Because that is the essential argument that I have for articulating African spirituality in general, which I call kimoyo.
Ele está dizendo que porque essa é a forma essencial a partir da qual ele articula o que a gente chama de espiritualidade africana, que ele chama aí de kimoyo, e aí ele está mostrando aqui. Ele tem uma palestra que é Kimoyo, Iniciação no Cosmograma Kimoyo, Explicação do Sinal Gráfico.
And because when I go across Africa in general, it is what you're seeing in terms of what they're calling, what we call spirituality in the West is fundamentally a process and understanding of nature and its laws, so that you could in turn, create it to learn the laws of creation, so that you can create the kind of reality that the society needs in order to flourish.
Ele está falando que isso é o que ele encontra na cultura do continente africano, porque aquilo que a gente aprendeu a chamar pelo Ocidente de espiritualidade, entre os povos africanos é possível perceber, quem faz essa pesquisa, que na verdade o que eles estão fazendo é investigando os princípios e as leis da natureza, as leis da realidade, né, para poder criar uma realidade, a realidade que a sociedade necessita para florescer.
And that's why Ma'at is so important, because Ma'at, on top of everything that we already know about Ma'at is really a system, a way to articulate a harmonious system and interdependence and exchange of life-sustaining processes throughout reality. And so if you can understand systems and how to create a harmonious system, how to create Ma'at, then you can reduplicate understanding the fundamental principles of Ma'at in your everyday life, on an individual level, on a family level, on a community level, on a society level, just by understanding Ma'at as a system of interdependent and exchange of life forces.
Ele está falando que entender Ma'at como um sistema que, de fato, para além de tudo que a gente já sabe sobre o que é Ma'at, ela é um sistema, e aí não só um qualquer sistema, mas um sistema de forças interdependentes e interrelacionáveis, e aí entender esse sistema, como se forma um sistema harmonioso, a gente pode duplicar fazer assim, copiar essa estrutura sistemática de construir algo tão largo, harmonioso, interdependente, para poder trazer para a nossa realidade do nosso dia a dia, em todos os âmbitos, né? No âmbito pessoal, no âmbito familiar, no âmbito social e aí no âmbito global. Essa é a importância de entender esse conceito, de entender esse conhecimento, o que é Ma'at, como construir essa estrutura, e aí para poder utilizá-la hoje.
Yeah, that's all I had. You could continue.
No, it was great. It was great. It's the same conclusion which I get, but I just coming from a philosophical perspective. Eu disse a ele que a gente tem, né, chegado às mesmas conclusões. Eu vou passar aqui a minha apresentação. So the next page, I present. I mean, I'm just showing this. It's a didactic way to show my taxonomy. It's not presented like that in the text. You won't find any text like this. I created. So, eu estou falando para as pessoas, né, que não tem tanta intimidade, que essa taxonomia que eu estou fazendo aqui é uma criação minha e é com objetivo didático. Você não vai encontrar nenhum texto dessa forma assim. So, I called something, that is something I called, a principle I called the Ma'atic bark, which has the bark as the cat, the body. The life itself is the waters, the rivers or the oceans, whatever you want to call it, from on which our body, our bark is floating.
Quick question. Before you continue, is there a way that you can increase the size so that is a little bit more apparent?
Okay, let me try.
To zoom in a bit.
Oops. Is better?
Yeah, that's good. All right, I'm sorry.
Zoom. So we got the cat as the bark as our bark, the tripulation, the crew. It's the other elements which I didn't name. I don't find it necessary right now, but in a future way, in a future time, I want to do this to show the crew who does what, but essentially the body is the bark, the life itself, you can see the unk around here, the life itself is the waters, as I said, the direction is defined or is amplified by the Sebait, the knowledge of the Sebait, the knowledge of the principle of reality. And so the Sebait, it's a device with which you utilize a minimum of energy, but you can take a better result. If I'm doing if you can understand me. And the Ib, this concept of Ib, the mind, the reason, is the captain of the bark. So that is the essential structure of the human personality, identity, self, whatever you can call it right now. But that's the principal structure of that we can find in the ancient texts of the Rematch. Estou falando que esse trabalho aqui eu represento, né, o nosso corpo. é a barca, é o que os queméticos chamavam de barca. Então, o nosso corpo ele é um veículo para aquilo que a gente chama de eu. A tripulação são os vários outros elementos que eu não nomeei ainda nesse momento, mas que em um momento futuro eu pretendo fazer essa nomeação. Quem são essas pessoas? Quem são esses elementos e o que eles fazem? A vela, né, é o Sebaite, os ensinamentos, ou seja, é um dispositivo, uma tecnologia que permite com que a gente gaste menos energia e consiga chegar a objetivos muito, muito maiores a partir do Sebaite. A vida, ela mesma, é o que a gente chamaria das águas, os oceanos, ou então a vida seria uma jornada, e quem comanda essa barca, esse corpo, é o Ibe, que é um conceito que a gente pode traduzir por mente, razão, enfim. It's okay? Can go ahead? Okay, and lastly, but not least, I got to zoom in, zoom out. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so we got, I don't know the name of, in English, it's a bússola. It's the device we can see the directions of
a compass.
A compass, yeah, thank you.
All right.
So besides the Sebaite itself as a technology, the human beings need the knowledge of some cardinal points. I know that that's more, but which I didn't have the time to place it, but there is another ones, but the essential ones are there. One, dealing with the knowledge of itself and its relations between themselves is the harmonious way to interact the internal elements of humanity, of self, which are the Ib, the Ka, the Hen, and the Ba. And in another aspect, that compass, I don't know if in another moment, maybe I will merge one in another, but right now, I don't know. I preferred to make it as two compasses because I didn't have the time to verify how they articulate between themselves. But it's certain that the other aspect of the compass deals not with the relationship between the internal elements with each other. That one, we can call it social elements because it refers to our relationships with the external world, with another person, and with the word itself. It's akedu, okay, kedu, medu nefert, medut nefert, sejem, and neferupi. I will explain a little bit about it. Here, I don't know if you are that follow the channel. I don't know if you are familiar with that concept, but essentially, the Ba is something we can summarize as our memory, our social memory, our personality. I mean, everything, every experience that the human being had until that day. I don't know in which moment of the life of his or her life they are, infant, an adult, an elder, it doesn't matter. Wherever is the amount of experience and knowledge which that person has, there is represented by the Ba. So it's the memory, it's the personality, the thing we call personality. The Egyptians, the ancient Egyptians, referred as Aba. I mean, the core culture, the values, the cultural values which someone has is compounded. It's the compound which they call Ba. They have even a text where a guy in a desperate moment trying to kill, thinking to kill himself, when he will thinking to do this, the Ba emerge and initiates a discussion on the values which the person has to establish. So from that, the Ba, you can call it the personality, the memory, and things like that. The Ib is, I already said, it's the reason, the mind, the intelligence. The Ka is more, it's a more broad concept, is a thing more broad, which deals with the life itself, the energy which keeps us alive, the nutrition, the relationship with us and with the world itself, because the Ka, all is the Ka, all the reality has the Ka. So wherever the behavior you wanna do, whatever you wanna make, you need to check if you are if that action, if that behavior is in the best interest of the Ka, meaning of the reality, to maintain reality flourishing, to maintain reality in a good state. And another principle is the Ren, which we can call it as not just the personality in aspect of who we are from the moment we emerge to the world, but what place we have in our culture, in our society, what relationship we had with our brothers, with our mothers, with our family, with our people. Not just that, the reputation itself is the Ren. Your name carries on your reputation. So it's external memory, while the Ba is an internal memory, the internal record of the life of the person until that moment. The Ren is an external record of that person, if I can say that. And the other, let me translate it. Eu estou falando aqui de um lado, que nós temos aí a bússola, eu fiz 2 bússolas, mas talvez elas vão emergir em uma só, por enquanto não tive tempo de fazer isso, de saber como é que elas se relacionariam. Mostrei 4 pontos cardeais essenciais, com certeza tem mais, mas eu não tive tempo de apresentá-los e de organizá-los, então eu preferi trabalhar com aquilo que eu tive certeza a partir da minha pesquisa. E aí, de um lado, tem uma relação que é muito mais interna, a relação harmoniosa, e aí é a bússola de Maat, é uma relação harmoniosa entre os elementos internos da pessoa consigo mesmo, e aí eu elenquei 4 elementos, o Ba, e aí esse Ba é o que a gente poderia traduzir aqui como a memória, todas as experiências que a pessoa teve, ela fica, esse conjunto de experiências, a personalidade, né, aquilo que a pessoa aprendeu na cultura, os valores culturais, são esse composto que os queméticos, os povos antigos egípcios, chamavam de Ba. Isso é de tal forma que, por exemplo, tem um texto que é chamado A Conversa com Ba, que é quando o homem está num momento desesperado da vida, tentando cometer suicídio, e aí é quando essa realidade emerge e começa a falar sobre o que ele deveria valorizar, né, ao invés de cometer aquele ato. Então, a gente está falando de valores culturais, então isso é o que a gente poderia chamar de Ba. Mas não tem tradução, acho que é importante não traduzirmos. O Ren, traduz como nome, é o que eu chamo de o registro interno. Né? Se, por um lado, o Ba é o registro interno das experiências, da cultura e do conhecimento daquela pessoa, o Ren é o registro externo dessa pessoa. Tem a ver com que papel social essa pessoa teve, desde o seu nascimento até a idade em que ela se encontra no momento da avaliação, a reputação dessa pessoa, enfim, as coisas que essa pessoa fez ou deixou de fazer, é um registro, uma memória externa dessa pessoa, e isso compõe a personalidade dela, compõe quem ela é. De outro lado, nós temos aqui o Ka como um dos pontos cardeais, e aí o Ka é um aspecto muito mais amplo, porque ele não está limitado a só a pessoa, toda a realidade tem o Ka, na medida em que o Ka ele pode ser traduzido, dentre outras coisas, como a energia vital, a nutrição, a vida ela mesma. Então, a ação da pessoa tem que estar preocupada, a pessoa que está nessa barca tem que estar preocupada em que lugar ela está desse ponto cardeal, e aí sempre ela tem que tentar aí se equilibrar nessa bússola para poder chegar àquele destino final, que é o Aket. Então ela tem que se preocupar em todas as ações em manter, agir de acordo com os interesses que mantém a realidade numa boa condição, não é para destruir a realidade. Então a gente vê a importância desse conhecimento para hoje. A gente chamaria hoje de ecologia e coisas do tipo, mas a gente já via isso sendo trabalhado há 6 mil anos, antes da Era Comum, né? 6 mil anos. E, por último, aqui, o conceito de IB, que a gente poderia traduzir aí livremente como inteligência, razão, pensamento, coisas desse tipo. The other aspect of the compass.
Quickly before you move forward, I just want to share with the listening audience. He mentioned the concept of Ba, and there is an important work, the 4 Egyptian homographic roots for Ba, by Dr. William A. Ward, that I just want to throw out there for those who
Can you show the title again, please? Ele está mostrando um livro aqui, um livro importante de um autor, William Ward, que é as 4 raízes homográficas egípcias, B3. E aí, uma delas ele tem o Ba, é uma raiz linguística, e aí ele é um trabalho de linguística etimológico sobre esse conceito que eu falei agora. Okay, brother.
That's all.
Okay. So a minute, please. Could you give me just a minute, please, because I have something real quick to deal with.
All right, no problem at all.
I'll be quick. Eu vou resolver uma coisa aqui que eu volto já rapidinho.
And while he is doing that, I'm going to need each and every one of you who are listening to this program to That is right. I need y'all to hit the like. And if you are new to the program, to subscribe to the channel. I'm working my way up to 10,000 subscribers. And so we're just, I think, a little shy on the 6,000. And so we're moving on up. And so the way to keep these conversations going is to share these videos and to like it so that it is recommended on other people's timelines, and they are introduced to these wonderful scholars that have blessed us with their presence on this channel. And so while he is doing that, I still want to recommend that you all go to maduindelapress.com and purchase the book Muntu Wa Nzambi by the author Chinemalema Mukinge. And so he's providing details about the Baluba Kimoyo system, the African spiritual system, in comparison with other African traditions, as far as ancient Egypt, to the Dogon, to the Mandi or Mandingo, even down south to the Amazulu in Azania, aka South Africa. So it is a very complete text. And so I encourage you all to again go to maduindelapress.com to purchase your copy today. It's just been released, and I'll be shipping the books in the United States on Monday and Tuesday for those who have pre-ordered. And so our guest is back, And
Okay,
so,
sorry about. Thank you, good
no
brother.
problem. No
Sorry about.
problem. Go
Sorry everybody, but I'm back. Estou
ahead.
pedindo
All right.
desculpas aí, estou de volta. So the other aspect of the compass is the aspect which deals with the relationship of the person with the external world, meaning the other persons, other creatures, and the world itself. So the
Mhm.
cardinal points from which that relationship starts is the neferupi, the neferup, which is that we can translate it as something like dissect, judge. It's a precise way to distinguish the things. I mean, which deals with the knowledge itself. So how to distinguish carefully one thing from another. It's important to do this, and so we need to. The persons need to know where in the space they are in relation to that cardinal point. The other cardinal point is the segem, uh, which we can translate freely as it's hearing, but not hearing the literal sense only. The text speaks of hearing in a way which you can understand the things that are heard, or the things which
Mhm.
present to you are presented to you, not just know that you are before something, not just comprehend that you are before something, but being capable to replicate.
Hmm.
Her, the Sajem, the disciple with Master Sajem, is capable to reproduce that which is teaching to him, what that which he is learning. Somebody which deals with the knowledge and don't do the thing which they learn that is good, doesn't have Sajen. So the person had to know where they are in the space in relation to that cardinal point too. And another cardinal point is the Medut Nefert, or just Medut Nefer, which in freely translate as good, I mean, good word, but it's not good words in the sense that it's beautiful, but it's a appropriate way to organize the information. I mean, our information, the Egyptians had the notions that the knowledge was stored in a linguistic way. So they said that the persons need to organize that knowledge, organize all the linguistic content in a appropriate way to be used. So that concept we can translate it. We It's not possible to translate. So I prefer to use Medu Nefer or just Medut Nefer, because it's not the way we talk, but the way we think. It's a certain way from which we had to organize information. I will need an extra pandemic or alien attack so I can get some extra time to think. Sorry, catch. We like to talk about a lot. I'll be fast. I'll be fast. I'm just
No, no,
finishing.
good.
Niket tá falando aqui que vai precisar de mais uma pandemia para poder acompanhar os vídeos, que é muito longo. E aí eu tô dizendo a ela que a gente fala muito mesmo. Mas que eu já estou terminando aqui. The last one is the Akedu, the Kedu, Iked, which deals with the character itself. So, besides there another relationship with the word, the character, the way which the self, the person is structured, is cardinal point. If the person doesn't care of his character, it's impossible from them to get to the CAD condition, the AC condition. Falando aqui que o segundo aspecto tem mais a ver com a relação externa da pessoa com o mundo, né? E aí isso significa tanto outra pessoa quanto outras criaturas como a realidade. E aí, nesse sentido, existem alguns pontos cardeais. Um deles é Neferupi, que a gente pode traduzir livremente como julgamento, juízo. Realmente é o modo racional de pensar, saber diferenciar uma coisa de outra. Então, eu penso, é o conhecimento no sentido estrito de saber distinguir as coisas para poder, né, enfim, saber diante do que se está. Sedem, que a gente poderia traduzir literalmente como escuta, mas não é simplesmente escuta, escuta no sentido de compreensão, e aí compreensão no sentido de ser capaz de replicar o que se compreende. Um outro conceito, uma outra noção, um outro ponto cardeal é Medut Nefert, que é uma forma apropriada de estruturar essas informações na mente. Então, a gente tem uma ordem aí, que com certeza é lógica. Certainly the Medut Nefert, it's about logic. And e por último, Ikedu, que é o caráter. Caráter também é um dos pontos cardeais que a pessoa tem que se preocupar nessa jornada. E aí, depending on where the person is, they are more to one of these cardinal points. So they use this compass to orient himself or herself to be in the final port, which is the ACK condition. Thank you, good brother.
Appreciate it.
Sorry for being so prolixous.
Oh no. This is good. And so yeah, you've hit us with a lot here, and I like how you are practicalizing the information and bringing it. Excuse me, how you are practicalizing the ancient knowledge and information in a modern context that allows for us to see it in a different light, so that, you know, the old is still teaching us and providing us frameworks to better understand ourselves in the present.
Ele está falando que é importante trabalhos como esse, né, que permitem com que a gente entenda, né, a partir da nossa perspectiva, a gente consiga perceber que usamos, né, a gente possa também usar os ensinamentos dos antigos e perceber que eles criaram maneiras a partir das quais a gente conhece a nós mesmos e conhece o mundo, e podemos assim operar nesse mundo de acordo com resultados práticos e positivos, né? Eu consegui trazer a perspectiva filosófica de uma maneira como prática, na possibilidade de utilizar essa perspectiva de forma prática e não só, também descritiva, ilustrativa do que aquele povo queria dizer quando eles falavam desses conceitos, que é algo que a gente não encontra nos textos hegemônicos de egiptologia.
Thank you. And I just typed in the chat that if anyone has any questions, you know, now would be a good time to ask.
Se alguém tiver alguma pergunta, ele está dizendo aí que está no chat lá. Se alguém quiser fazer alguma pergunta no chat, pode ficar à vontade. Aqui no Instagram também, bastante gente. Se alguém quiser, tem muita gente aqui, se alguém quiser fazer pergunta, o momento é apropriado e agora, pode ficar à vontade.
And of course, if someone has questions on your other feed, you know, you'll have to present it to us.
Yeah. Se alguém quiser perguntar aqui, ele disse que, né, thank you for this breakdown, Duarte. Slow cooking. Indeed, esse MCAT. Essa MCAT é uma professora também, ela lida com a língua, a partir de uma perspectiva, com o Meduneter, né, com a língua, com a escrita antiga quemética a partir de uma perspectiva linguística. E aí ela estava dizendo, não, Walter, pode tomar o tempo que você tiver, a gente gosta de cozinhar lentamente, nada de micro-ondas, de coisas cozidas no micro-ondas. Thank you, sis.
All right. And so, usually people turn their thesis into a book. And so do you plan on making this a text for popular consumption in the near future?
Certainly.
And,
Certainly. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes, certainly. It was one of the how could I say that, the prescription of the evaluation table. They said that this work needs to go out the academic walls because it's so important. So I certainly have a will to turn it in a book. I will take off the first part. I think I don't need to deal with it in a non-academic way. So I let it there in the academic way. So whenever anybody wants to touch it, goes to the library on the university. But that knowledge needs to get more people. So I want to do a book about it. So we'll do it. We try it. Let me call it and we have something happen maybe.
You were breaking up just a little bit, at least on my end. So can you repeat what you just said?
Yeah, I was saying to Brian Beno Smith that we can try to deal with, and I was provoking you, saying that maybe from the Madu Indela Press, we got this book.
I will definitely publish it, for you. I just gotta get someone to translate it properly in English. Once you've finished that, and if we can do that, we can definitely make that happen.
Okay, let's make it happen. So then Brazil is birthing a powerful generation of academic studying African system. It's a part of the reason I'm learning Portuguese. Oh, thank you, sis. Thank you. Good to know this. Well, it's true. We got a good number of scholars around here. Not in the Afrocentric still yet. Is a field which is growing. We got Catiúcia making a research center. We got the people from the Afrocentric, International Afrocentric, doing their work on the base with non-academic person, but with the practicing the methods, Afrocentric methods. So the number is increasing. So it's really good to know the people abroad, the diaspora abroad, are interested in our work. So we got person like Renato Nogueira, we got some Wanderson Flo, we got Antonio Bispo, we got people like the Yanomami people like Davi Copenaua and things like that. It's important to deal with that. Antonio Bispo is a Quilombo man. He's from the Quilombo. He's an elder from the Quilombo, which I will send his book for you, brother. It's a great book speaking of how the people from the Quilombo perceive the world, how the world is organized from them. It's a beautiful book. It's a thin one, but it's beautiful. Estava falando aqui porque duas pessoas, uma me pediu para se é possível encontrar esse livro em inglês. Eu já provoquei a Sá aqui dizendo que se a gente pode publicar pela editora dele. Ele disse que com certeza. Então esse livro vai sair em inglês pela editora Madu Indela. E aí outra pessoa falou que está aprendendo português porque ela está vendo que estudiosos poderosos estão surgindo na língua aqui no Brasil. E aí eu estou agradecendo e estou citando alguns autores daqui do Brasil, né? O Anderson Flor, estou citando Renato Nogueira, citei Antônio Bispo, citei algumas pessoas de outros povos também, Davi Copenaua, enfim. E aí eu acho importante, Renato Nogueira, já falei, enfim, é importante que esses trabalhos sejam divulgados. São trabalhos sérios e aí é importante que eles sejam divulgados. I'm a voracious reader of the work of you in the North American diaspora. I read a lot from you. And now I'm reading the French. The French I got the French language now, but then I'm reading the works of them too. How can we use these ancient?
Portuguese is going to be my next Latin language to learn. I used to know a little bit of it way back in the day when I used to do capoeira.
Okay.
But you know, I haven't been around it in so long that you lose it if you don't hear it. You know, and so
it's a practical skill. It's like math. You need to practice.
Indeed.
How can we use these ancient paradigms to generate new episteme rather than use Lacan or Marx? Good question. Good question. Do you want to answer first?
It says, okay, how can we use these ancient paradigms to generate new episteme rather than using... I think he's kind of just shown you the way, even with his graphs. It's just a matter of doing it. You know, if you understand it, it is to put it in conversation with the ideas of Marx and Lanson and others, and to show the differences. But again, you know, African philosophy is a lived tradition. It's not something that is simply for argument's sake. You know, like it's strictly for academia. So in order to generate new epistemological approaches and things, you first have to test it in real life, first on a personal level, and then on a communal level, and to see if it works, and what kind of outcomes are produced as a result of adopting this paradigm. And from the lived experience, I believe, do these new ideas come about, because you know you're experiencing the natural challenges of life that will force you to think of deep, rich philosophic solutions to in understanding of the causes to the problems to settle it. And I don't know if you would remember all that to translate, but
eu do a summary. Uma pessoa aqui perguntou como a gente pode usar esses paradigmas antigos para gerar novas formas de teorias de conhecimento, ao invés de Lacan, ao invés de Marx. E aí a Sá respondeu que, na verdade, eu já demonstrei isso, ainda que graficamente. Agora é uma questão de entender e praticar, né, levar para as discussões, para os debates com pessoas que já fizeram, né, que estudam Marx, que estudam Lacan, mostrar as diferenças. Né? E é importante ressaltar que a cultura africana é uma cultura prática, né, uma cultura viva, e que esses elementos são elementos realmente científicos que podem e precisam ser testados na realidade. Né? É possível que você pegue esses princípios e veja se eles funcionam ou não. Então é importante lidar com isso e pôr isso em prática. Before I answer and then you talk about the next question, I got one question here in the stream. May I speak?
Okay. This is the same person, and this is kind of the second part to that question.
Go ahead.
So if you want to answer, so this was the first part that we read earlier. How can we use these ancient paradigms to generate new episteme rather than using Lacan or Lacan or Marx, and then they follow back with this. For example, Afro-pessimism makes a profound critique of psychoanalysis, but they still use Foucaultian and Lacanian semiotics or Lacan semiotics, which are based in modernity. So how do we get out of that?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's kind of tricky because we got some elements that the misinformation which we form our culture now makes we think that all of the things which the Europeans said are property of them, are created by them. Much of the
Mm-hmm.
things which they talk are adaptations from African concepts, and then you need to know. That's why the Afrocentric method is important, because we understand the difference. What is something which belongs to the cultures? What is something which describes a phenomenon, and what of that is increasing, a cultural increasing, a cultural addition. So in a few ways we can uh, uh, see, perceive African themes in the epistemology, psychoanalysis, psychoanalytical approach. But it's simple. We got Amos Wilson. We already got people who did. We got Amos Wilson, with Nobles, people like that. We need to get to the source. It's simple, and from there we don't need to create ex nihilo. It's simple. We got to follow the path of our elders. It's very simple. We got many people with full skill who already did it, so we can go from there. I encourage you to look for the works of like the persons like Amos Wilson, Frantz Fanon. I mean, Wade Nobles. I mean, the number is almost infinite of persons who already dealt with the problem, and it is very practical. You can do it, and from there you can create another thing. Maybe if you are a psychologist yourself, I don't know, but if you are, yeah, it's good to go to the source. The elders already did it. A pergunta suplementar, a pergunta não foi uma só, né? Ela cresceu, e aí ele perguntou como pode, na perspectiva da psicanálise, usar outros temas que não lacaniano, enfim. Eu falei que já existem autores, psicólogos e psicólogas que já fizeram isso. Citei Fanon, citei Amos Wilson, Wade Nobles e outros. E aí que é importante a gente seguir os caminhos dos nossos mais velhos. E aí, a partir daí, a gente pode até criar. A gente não precisa ter esse esforço de criar as coisas do nada. I have two questions here from African history, história africana. They asked, it's a great question. They made a sentence first and then a question. The sentence is, in Kemet, the technologies of the African people existed and to develop the humanity without disrupt the environment. Contrary of the new Caucasian people. From that technologies, what left today in Africa? Oh, we can go to the Yoruba people, not just in Africa. We can the that is the importance. I stress again the importance of the Afrocentricity as a method. From there, you can go to the other cultures in the continent or abroad and perceive what have left. Because first, we need to know the paradigm, and that is a problem around here, brother Asa, in Brazil, because we got still got some people, serious people, which talk things like the Yoruba has 10,000 years. I mean, we have people which doesn't accept Kemet as a paradigm, saying that the Yoruba people has 10,000 years. So it's just an allegation. I think we how like Kat said, we are slowly cooking that kind of thing, because we need to understand first what is the paradigma, né, from which we can establish to recognize what is African and what is not African. So the paradigm is Kemet. That's the paradigm. It's not necessary for me to become Kemetic again. It's not necessary for it to, I mean, we need to know that that is the paradigm. And from there, we can recognize what has left and what was lost. And it doesn't mean that we got to get back all the way, but we can, from there, improve our reality. Eu estava respondendo aqui que a essa pergunta, a história africana, eu falei, respondi o pessoal, agora eu vou responder a você aqui. Essa é a importância, obrigado pela pergunta, né? Essa é a importância da gente entender o paradigma afrocêntrico. Isso significa que, para entender esse paradigma afrocêntrico, a gente precisa entender qual é a base cultural, qual é a base da paradigmática do traço cultural africano, que é a partir dele que a gente vai conseguir saber o que havia antes, e aí quando formos pesquisar as culturas hoje, a gente vai conseguir perceber o que restou e o que não, o que foi ficado para trás. E aí eu falei a SAR que a gente está enfrentando algumas dificuldades. Por exemplo, uma dessas dificuldades, a gente tem pessoas que até são sérias, que têm mencionado, por exemplo, dizendo que os Yorubás têm 10 mil anos. E na raiz de tudo isso é só para não aceitar o Kemet paradigma, né? Porque isso não tem qualquer sustentação científica. E aí tem gente da ciência, como se a ciência fosse, enfim. Então a gente está cozinhando, digamos assim, lentamente isso, mas é preciso que se entenda que Kemet é a base, é o paradigma, não foi quem inventou, mas são os registros mais antigos que nós temos. E aí, a partir daí, a gente pode reconhecer o que é e o que não é africano. Não para retornar completamente ao que era, mas para que a gente possa aprimorar a nossa realidade a partir do que é nosso, do que é de acordo com o interesse dos nossos povos. Obrigado pela pergunta. Thank you for I was saying and thanks the question. They continue. The question is large too. They said, and from that which left, how can we think the time and space in that path of re-centralization to the Afrocentric way? So we are already doing it. We are already doing it. It's just a question of patience and consistency and discipline. Aí a resposta é muito rápida, Gabi. Obrigado pela pergunta. A gente já está fazendo, irmão. É mais uma questão aí de paciência e de disciplina, consistência. O trabalho já está sendo feito, agora é cultivo, sabe? É no ritmo do cultivo. Cozinhando, como a irmã falou aqui, a gente cozinha devagar, não é cozinhar no micro-ondas, é cozinhar devagarzinho, no forno e tal. E cultivo mesmo, plantar, regar todo dia, que isso vai florescer, é certeza. Obrigado pela pergunta, viu? Forte abraço.
Alrighty. I'm not seeing any more new questions. Let me double check Facebook. No questions there. Let me check asarimhotep page just in case. Yep, I'm not seeing.
Do you want to answer the question to them about the how can we through the path of re-Africanization of our culture?
How can we draw the? Say that again.
I mean, he asked from there which is left. How can we think the time and space in the path of re-centralization to the Afrocentric thought?
Well, of course, you know, if you are someone who has been born in a colonial context. I'll stop every few so you can translate.
Gabi, Schubert, ele está respondendo aqui também para você. Eu pedi para ele responder também. Ele disse assim: ele estava dizendo por partes. Se você, né, se a pessoa nasce num contexto de diáspora colonial, ele quer dizer, né, num contexto colonial, go ahead, brother.
Then you will have to first start reading books and articles by Afrocentric scholars and initiated African scholars.
Você vai precisar ler livros e artigos de estudiosos e estudiosas afrocêntricos e se iniciar no estudo afrocêntrico e também iniciar pessoas nesse processo, a fazer esse processo.
I say initiated African scholars because they are going to articulate a much deeper and richer assessment of their own culture and worldview versus a Western anthropologist who is not connected with the people.
E aí ele falou que é preciso que você inicie outros estudiosos, porque o trabalho que essas pessoas, você, por exemplo, e outras pessoas que você iniciar, vão produzir, vai ser muito mais rico e muito mais profundo do que os trabalhos de antropólogos, historiadores, enfim, estudiosos eurocêntricos, que não têm esse contato profundo com essa cultura.
Right. And start to internalize that which you read that resonates best with you, and to live out the best of those traditions.
E aí é chegado depois o segundo momento de como você vai internalizar aquilo que você lê que mais se ressona, digamos assim, com você, e aí como você vai transformar esse conhecimento em algo prático, em algo real. Ele ainda está respondendo, tem mais. Go ahead, brother.
All righty. And lastly, if you have the opportunity, travel to Africa and to get initiated into one or more of the indigenous African spiritual traditions.
E aí, por último, ele disse que, por último, tente ir para o continente africano para ser iniciado em uma ou mais tradição espiritual africana.
Because,
thank you, good brother. So go ahead.
So the idea is to research as much as possible first, and then to find a people and a system that resonates with you, and try to establish a living relationship so that you can see how the people are utilizing it natively in their own culture. And this will help you to reorient, yourself back into the ways of knowing and being of African people. So you have it, academically on one hand, and then you also have the experience on another. And so you're able to merge it and reproduce it in your life and adjust it so that it suits your needs and support your family in their evolution through time.
E aí ele disse que a partir daí você ir visitando, né? Você procura depois qual povo e qual cultura ressona mais com você, tem mais a ver com você. E aí, nesse momento, com esse contato, você vai poder perceber internamente como aqueles conceitos que você estudou, que você pesquisou, são articulados pelo povo ali no momento em que eles vivem. E aí você vai conseguir combinar, né, o estudo acadêmico, o estudo científico com a vida, com vivenciar essa experiência. E aí, a partir desse casamento, a partir dessa fusão, você vai conseguir adaptar isso às suas necessidades do dia a dia e nas relações com as outras pessoas, e aí aprimorar a realidade, a sua realidade, a realidade das pessoas que estão próximas a você, que têm contato com você, a partir disso.
Yeah,
so in that, for coincidence, you with that last part, you already answered a second question we got here, because they were asking in the matrix, use the word matrix, in the matrix, technology, science, and spirituality walk together. With the Western culture, we destroy the spirituality. Which are the paths to reunify spirituality, science, and technology?
Well, we have to remember that technology is not a device, for example. It is a way of doing something. So that's the first thing that we got to understand.
História Africana, obrigado pela pergunta. Aqui vai a resposta. Ele falou: primeiro a gente tem que reconhecer que tecnologia não é um dispositivo, é um modo de fazer as coisas, né? Esse é o primeiro ponto, né? A gente precisa reconhecer isso.
So the way that something is done, so we can, for example, we're communicating through a device, and that device is a way in which we can communicate through vastly long distances. But I still can communicate with you writing on a piece of paper and mailing it to you. You know, the pencil is just as much of a technology as the webcam now, but also language is technology, because it allows us to articulate what's up in here to people, you know, out there.
E aí ele está prosseguindo falando sobre que tecnologia é um modo de fazer algo, porque, por exemplo, embora nós estejamos aqui nos comunicando a partir desse dispositivo, que é a webcam, para nos comunicarmos em longa distância, a gente poderia também escrever uma carta e enviar pelos correios. Essa caneta, ela é tanto uma tecnologia quanto a webcam. Não só isso, a própria linguagem que nós utilizamos também é uma tecnologia. É com ela que nós conseguimos transmitir o que está aqui dentro, né, na nossa mente, né, para as outras pessoas. Então, primeiro a gente precisa entender de forma mais ampla o que é tecnologia.
So the only thing that really makes anything spiritual is that the person or the people consider a particular phenomenon sacred. That's it. And so I'm sorry, go ahead.
Então, assim, e aquilo que a gente chama de espiritual é simplesmente um fenômeno que um povo específico considera sagrado. Isso é o que é essencialmente espiritualidade. Go ahead, brother.
So, you know, we got to have a different understanding of technology, and to understand it's related to your technique, the way that you approach and solve a problem. Now, you're going to have to, in order to make it spiritual, you have to identify something as sacred. So if family is sacred, then the approach that you use has to make known the sacredness of family.
Axé.
You know.
E aí ele está falando que é importante a gente entender que tecnologia é um modo de entender a técnica, é uma forma de abordar as coisas, é uma forma de resolver os problemas. Então, se, por exemplo, a gente considera a família sagrada, algo sagrado, existe uma forma de lidar com esse fenômeno família, existe uma forma de solucionar os problemas relacionados a esse fenômeno família.
And so with that technology, the techniques that we use are supposed to solve human problems. So that's the first thing, that it has to solve a human problem.
E aí, nesse sentido, tecnologia tem a ver com a resolução dos problemas humanos.
Secondly, it has to strengthen or maintain good human relationships.
Em segundo lugar, tem a ver com construir ou manter boas relações humanas. Fortalecer ou manter boas relações humanas.
And lastly, I will borrow from Dr. Maulana Karenga in his text on Ma'at.
E por último, ele vai tomar emprestada a concepção de Maulana Karenga no texto dele sobre Ma'at.
So in the text, Dr. Karenga noted that the ancient Egyptians tried to have, he talked about worthiness and being worthy in front of God, nature, and community, and human beings.
E aí ele notou, Maulana Karenga notou que os povos queméticos, a cultura clássica africana lida com um conceito que a gente poderia traduzir aqui como dignidade, valor. Então a pessoa tinha que ser digna, adquirir esse valor diante da natureza, diante da comunidade e diante da família.
So, whatever techniques, whatever technologies that we create has to be, in the final analysis, it has to maintain or strengthen a harmonious relationship between God, and we can put the ancestors in there, nature, the physical environment, and the living community. As long as those three are in harmony and satisfied, then everything is merged, because you're considering what your ancestors would think, what you think God would think, and how it affects the physical environment, and what your community would think about your actions and technology.
E aí, nesse sentido, você leva em consideração e cuidado o que os ancestrais pensaram, e aí a gente está incluindo aqui no sentido de natureza, Deus e os ancestrais, o que a comunidade vai pensar, né? E o que a natureza, em termos gerais, a família necessita. Né? Então, são esses três pilares, né? Família, a comunidade e a natureza, e aí expandindo Deus e os ancestrais, ou seja, você vai se preocupar com o que os ancestrais, o que a natureza, né, no sentido assim, o que é de melhor interesse para a natureza, o que é de melhor interesse para o que os ancestrais pensaram, o que é de melhor interesse para esse princípio que chamamos de Deus, o que é de melhor interesse para a família, o que é de melhor interesse para a comunidade.
And I think I've summarized it there. That's what makes everything, you know, kind of coexist. So all of African spiritual or wisdom traditions, you know, are holistic, and so they keep all of that in mind. So that's all you have to do is to keep nature, because we got to remember that nature is God in indigenous African systems. So we can kind of reduce the 3 to 2. So nature as God and the living community. But you know, if you want to include the ancestors as part of the living community or as part of nature God, you know, that's a personal decision. But that fundamentally is my answer.
E aí, ele falou que ele resumiu, né? Porque e aí a gente considera aí natureza. Se você quiser, você pode entender natureza como Deus. Natureza e Deus são uma coisa só, então não tem essa separação natureza e Deus. E aí, se você quiser colocar os ancestrais entre os natureza, né, o que a gente chama por natureza, ou entre as pessoas, os seres vivos, vai depender da sua escolha pessoal, mas esse é o essencial, lidar com essas 3 noções, né, da natureza, a família, né, e a comunidade. E aí os ancestrais, se você escolher entre os vivos, estaria entre a comunidade e família também. Então, já se reduziria para 2. Comunidade e família, ou família como comunidade e a natureza.
Is there anything else?
Obrigado, gente. Espero que tenha respondido. Axé todo mundo que está aqui, Gabi, Franciele, Catiúcia chegou aí, mas acho que já saiu. Nothing more. People was just sending the shout outs.
I appreciate it. Well,
something I would say that. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
When you talking about the God and nature, it's one thing. Karenga show even they don't even talk about nature. You talk about inter one side and inter ha, meaning which they are one and simple in the same thing. Nature is God. It's embodiment of God. So yeah, as you are talking in another discussions, the notion of God which we have today is Abrahamic, ex machina entity. That's not the case. We are God. We are part of. We are God. The reality itself is God.
And it's how should I explain? Like when we talk about Ma'at, we don't normally think of Ma'at as God, but in reality, Ma'at is God as well. It's just another name of God in ancient Egypt that just applies to a certain aspect of that which holds the universe together. And so, you know, I'm working on a book right now on the relationship between Ra and Ma'at. And I argue that they are the same linguistically, they're the same word. They're just different prefixes and suffixes to the root. And in the dynamics of that show you the role that God in the form of Ra plays and the role that God in the form of Ma'at plays, and how they're really just two sides of the same coin in the Egyptian tradition. But
it's a great insight. It's a great insight. Ele estava dizendo que ele está fazendo um estudo agora, a partir de agora, que é para demonstrar linguisticamente que Ra e Maat são o mesmo conceito, né? São os dois lados da mesma moeda. And I noticed that at least I didn't find it yet, but we don't find a text which deals with the emergence of Maat.
No.
It's only when Ha appears, Maat appears, just like that. It's just as Maat is the counterpart, the sin, the Gemini of Ra, which is the other side of creation. Creation only can exist if it exists the order, the background. I mean, meaning that it is not ex nihilo. It's not an entity which creates another. It's only possible to create if, in a way, and that way is Ma'at. So we find all the entities being told as burning, as birthing, getting birth. But Ma'at just is Ma'at. Just as soon as reality is concerned, we got Ma'at. It just appears. Boom, Ma'at. Ma'at. It's interesting. It's a good insight. I perceived that.
That's something that a few scholars have noted in the past, and I cite. I'm forgetting the text, but I have the book cover in my head. But the how should I say? How I articulate it is that Ma'at is the word for system and order and organization. It is the noun in the abstract form. But Ra is more so comes from the verb. It's the act, or the one who organizes, who creates the system. It's the process of organizing, creating, and which is why he's the creator. He's the one that, and so that's why it's important to understand the presentation that I did, for the future is ancestral, and when I'm talking about Ra is Kalunga, and and Kalunga is Ma'at, and so you'll find the word in other Bantu languages as Malungu, Mulungu, Imlungu. You'll see that the God itself is the one who organizes, but there's the noun form that without the agent prefix, that's just the abstraction of organization, of order, and from that same root, and that's how it's being used in these different African countries and African language groups or whatnot. And so you can't organize without the concept of organization, so they're two sides of the same phenomenon. But
ele estava dizendo aqui que eu falei para ele, né, que eu tinha percebido isso, que eu não encontrei nenhum texto, que se por um lado a gente encontra texto que fala sobre a emergência, o nascimento de todos os princípios, todos os Incher, não existe de Ma'at. Ma'at simplesmente é. E aí ele tem falado que, junto com a apresentação que ele fez, o futuro é ancestral, e um trabalho de pesquisa que ele vem fazendo, é que ele reconheceu que Ma'at, na verdade, representa a abstração, é um substantivo abstrato da noção de organização, de ordenamento, e Ra, na verdade, é o verbo, é a ação de organizar, a ação de criar. E aí são assim os dois lados, né? É impossível você criar sem a noção de criação. É impossível você organizar, né, sem a noção de organização. Então, a gente está falando do mesmo conceito. E aí, na apresentação dele, Futuro e Ancestral, ele relacionou, por exemplo, Ma'at, Ra, com Kalunga, Malungo, Mlungo e outros conceitos que a gente encontra tanto no Congo como ao longo do continente africano hoje, que a gente pode perceber essa relação etimológica, conceitual e cultural.
Indeed. Yeah, that's all I had on that.
É isso. Obrigado, Cabechu. Espero que tenha te respondido aí.
But I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, just see, not in you.
Okay.
Well,
okay. I want to thank you again for coming and sharing your wisdom in your presentation and giving us some insight into your research and your ongoing research. And we can't wait to get a hold of the text worldwide in about 50 languages, so that we can bring this conversation into the homes of many people around the world. And you have definitely been great in that regards, and I look forward to other research that you may have. And matter of fact, this will be my last question to you. Besides that particular work, what other research questions do you see yourself tackling or that you want to explore, in the future?
Man, the first one is about the logical structure of the chematic thought. I'm looking for the logic aspect of the thought organization. So I'm looking for what is the axioms, the logical axioms. I got with Ujao's presentation when he talked about the Nebjer, that clicked me the insight where, oh, I found one of them. And so that is one of the questions I am making about I need to present the logic from the ancient perspective, write a logic book from there, and show the rules of logic from their text. Then I'm looking forward to present something, make questions on ontological aspects. I just published an article, a letter about it. It's outline yet on the Memphite theology. They call Memphite theology the Shabaka stone. So about the concept of Keper in dealing in an ontological and epistemological way. So the epistemology is another field from which I wanted to navigate. The rhetoric, because I started my research on the doctorate. My PhD was initiated studying rhetoric, Gorgian rhetoric, but that didn't touch me. And I noticed in the beginning of the Ptah-Hotep's work, the rhetoric, pure rhetoric. So I'm looking forward to find another text where we can deal with that, besides the eloquent peasants and things like that. I know that they got a lot, so I'm trying to organize that text and make a rhetoric text from ancient Egypt.
Indeed.
And then as I said to you, I'm in love with the computational science. So I'm trying to, I don't know, make a software, or not, if I am not able to make a software, just to draw some outline to deal with it in some way in our reality today. I don't know what today, but I know that's it, that is a field that I can go there. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you will be good. I don't think it'll be too much of a stretch to kind of learn the fundamentals of computer science, because it is built off of logic. So, like, as I was telling the previous professor, Dr. Agdigbola, we built the stuff off of logic gates. And so, like, for example, I have a kit here to where, you can learn some electronics and things. And, it'll come with what is called a breadboard. And which you can see here. And, you can put together logic gates to, I may just do a show on this and show people how this is and how, like, the truth tables that you learn in philosophy, we do the same thing when it comes to computer science. So we create truth tables for the logic gates that we create in the system here. And you'll find that, this is the practical, aspect of philosophy, in terms of logic and truth, because that's ultimately what gets the computers, to go. So it won't be too much of a leap for you, I don't think, to get into something like this.
Yeah, let me translate it. Ele me perguntou quais são as outras perguntas que eu faria, que eu faço, né, além dessa pesquisa, além do livro, né, que a gente vai fazer, vou traduzir para o inglês e talvez para outros idiomas no continente. Ele falou sobre que outras investigações eu estou fazendo. E aí eu falei a ele que eu estou fazendo investigações em lógica, em epistemologia, em ontologia e em retórica. E aí ele disse que, e até em ciência da computação, eu pretendo encaminhar para a ciência da computação a partir da cultura clássica africana. Ele disse que isso é possível, ele vem fazendo um trabalho de estudo e de apresentação, de ensino também sobre isso, e ele apresentou uma tabela, um mecanismo, né, eletrônico que vocês viram, e aí ele mostrou que cada portão daquele, eu não sei, aí eu não sou da área de eletrônica, vocês poderiam me ajudar com as nomenclaturas, mas cada gate, ele chama de gate, né, cada portão daquele, cada transmissor daquele pode ser construído de uma forma similar ao que em lógica a gente aprende como tabela verdade. And another thing, brother, when I teach philosophy to non-academic persons, I use the example of the Indian girls, the wolf girls. I don't know if you're familiar with that. The two girls who were founded in India some time ago, 6 or 7 years of age, and they were among the wolves. They don't know what happened to their parents, but the children was created by the pack of wolves, and when rescued, they wasn't not capable to turn themselves humans. So one of them died a year from there, and another more 2 years or 3, I don't remember precisely, but but the only thing that she was capable to do was to be on 2 feet and spell some little words. I mean, that is for me, that shows the importance of philosophy in the construction of the human being itself, of the concept of human beings, because that matrix, which I call to teach them, that matrix we call mind self, is constructed from philosophy. The cultural aspect, the logical aspect, and things like that is a construct in a way that when whatever we believe is real, that's what we are. So the two girls believed that they are wolves, and they was unable to see themselves as human beings. And with that, I used to be that we are in a state similar to that, thinking that one notion of human beings hypertrophied to another that we are living a bestial lives. I mean, destructing the earth, destruct the environment, destructing one another. So that is the philosophy is not important as a mere intellectual exercise. It's important for us not just to understand ourselves, but understand how can we deal with the world and with ourselves. So in itself, philosophy has it's a potent technology. It's a powerful technology. I mean, it was philosophy which was used against us. It was philosophy that created the state of being which we are now. I mean, the notion of human being as Greek and so forth was philosophy. It's a work of philosophy. It's an instrument. It's a tool. It depends of the way in which we use the tool. Eu estava dizendo a ele aqui, né, que das várias importâncias da filosofia, e aí eu uso o exemplo das irmãs da Índia que foram encontradas com os lobos, né, e aí elas viviam como lobos, quando foram resgatadas, uma só conseguiu viver 1 ano, e a outra conseguiu viver mais 2 ou 3 anos, e a única coisa que ela foi capaz de fazer é ficar em pé e falar pouquíssimas palavras, ou seja, e aí a importância da tecnologia, da filosofia como uma tecnologia, que a própria noção de ser humano nossa tem como base a filosofia. E a gente está num estado similar hoje, né, de nos entendermos como o conceito de ser humano é muito estreito, né? E aí é preciso a gente entender a filosofia como essa ferramenta poderosa que não é meramente para um exercício intelectual, mas é a partir dela que a gente vai poder interferir na realidade, né? Eu sei that our world, our notion of humanity is limited. The philosophy is a powerful tool for us to deal with the reality and to intervene in that challenge.
All right. Well, we're approaching 3 hours now.
Wow.
So I'm going to end the program. And again, thank you for coming on. And you're always welcome, on the program. And we'll have you back for some general. Maybe I can make you part of a panel. We can have a round table on some given topics and see
no
where
problem.
that goes. So I want to thank each and every one of you who are listening live, and then of course those of you who are catching the archives, to the program. And so make sure that before y'all go, that y'all indeed, that is,
da lógica em outros campos também.
Hit the like button and to subscribe to the channel. So I will be lighting my incense as I get ready. I got some editing work to do tonight. But make sure that y'all like the video and that you share it with friends and colleagues. And if the people want to get in contact with you and want to know more about what you're doing, how can they do so, Professor Odará?
They can contact me by email, Walter with VALTERMOREIRA 2 Walter Moreira 2 gmail.com, or through my Instagram page, which is Walter Duarte Odará. It's easy to find me. VAL. Let me write here. I don't know if you can put it there. I think it would be easier.
So I have the email that he mentioned here.
The email and the Instagram page.
And then this is the Instagram. That.
And the last one, yeah, this is the Instagram, and the other is from YouTube. You can find me on YouTube as Duarte Odará. Odará. So whatever you want, a question, commentary, uh, I mean, trying to help with some advice. I don't know, whatever you can do it to improve the research, or any help you need to research, you can contact me.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it greatly. And of course, you can find me on all of the social media platforms at these particular addresses. And I forgot who the next interview is. We definitely got some special treats, and I'll be doing lesson 3 on the Kimoyo initiation this week. So for those who are on the Patreon page, look out for that. And with that said, y'all have a blessed week. Continue to be safe. And until next time, peace.
Obrigado, professora Sônia.